Hello, I'm Rabbi Ariel Rakovsky, and welcome to another edition of Tefilah Tuesdays. We find ourselves in the period known as Shloshim Yom Kodem L'Chag, the month in between Purim and Pesach, where our thoughts turn to preparing for Pesach practically and spiritually as well. And so, for the next few Tuesdays, Tefilah Tuesdays will be dedicated to the prayers of Pesach and specifically to the prayer that is so inextricably linked with Pesach, and that is the Hallel. In fact, the Hallel is so much a part of Pesach that it is recited more times on Pesach than just in Tefilah in the mornings every day. Many communities have the custom of reciting the Hallel at night in shul on the Seder night. That's not our custom at the IPM, but many communities do. And of course, Hallel is divided up amongst the Seder, half before the meal, half before Shulchan Aruch, and half afterward. And so we have, so Hallel is really a very important part of Pesach. In fact, the first 5 paragraphs of Hallel, from the beginning through B'tzeis Yisrael Mimitzrayim, actually beyond that, from the beginning until the final paragraph, until Min HaMeitzar Karasi Ka, those are consecutive chapters of Tehillim, and that's known as the Egyptian Hallel. And why is that known as the Egyptian Hallel? Because the second paragraph, B'tzeis Yisrael Mitzrayim, refers to the Yitzias Mitzrayim. It refers to the Exodus from Egypt, and those were among the earliest tefillos that were written to be recited in the Beis HaMikdash on the days of national celebration. Initially, those were the times that Hallel was recited. The Shalosh Regalim, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, those were the 3 times that that Hallel was recited. And they were meant to be recited along with the offering of the Korbanos, and Hallel was said as at the time that the Korban Pesach was offered. Later, a shorter form was adopted for Rosh Chodesh that is known as Chatzi Hallel. And the reason for that is that Rosh Chodesh is not a full festival, so a full Hallel is not said. Now we know that on the last 6 days of Pesach, also the full Hallel is not said. And there are 2 reasons for that. First of all, that the miracle, the primary miracle, happened on the first day of Pesach. And second of all, and that refers to the Exodus from Egypt, Yitzias Mitzrayim. And second of all, that the miracle of the splitting of the sea took place in a way that caused suffering to the Egyptians. And even as the Egyptians were our tormentors, the Gemara in Megillah says that it was inappropriate to recite a full Hallel when God's creations were drowning and were suffering. Hallel is a time that we celebrate the national deliverance and we remember the role of God throughout history. That's also the reason why we, in the more modern times, recite Hallel on Yom HaAtzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim. Yom HaAtzmaut celebrating the physical deliverance of the Jewish people from the sovereignty of other nations, and Yom Yerushalayim celebrating the liberation of the city of Yerushalayim, the spiritual locus and epicenter of the Jewish people. And so on those days of national significance, we say Hallel in order to mark God's influence and God's omnipotence throughout history. There are days where it's not appropriate to say Hallel. For example, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and actually on Purim as well. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we don't say Hallel because our fate is being decided. It is not in keeping with the somber mood of the day to recite Hallel, especially because those are days that are not so much dedicated to national remembrance. They're more dedicated to God's remembrance of us and to repentance and to judgment, and also on Yom Kippur especially, of course, for forgiveness. At Purim, we don't recite Hallel because in many ways the miracle of Purim is incomplete. The Gemara says, Akati avdi te Achashverosh anan, that even as the Jewish people experienced the deliverance, in many ways we are still the servants of Achashverosh. The story of Purim is actually meant to be a sober reminder that we had an opportunity to return to the land of Israel, and we didn't take advantage of it. And so, as long as we are not fully taking advantage of the opportunity for Shivas Tzion, it's not appropriate to say Hallel on a day which is as much an indictment of our lack of taking advantage of this opportunity. We are still dispersed in Galus. We are still living under the control of and through the good graces of others. And so it's not appropriate to continue to say Hallel under those circumstances. We're going to continue to describe over the next few weeks some of the different paragraphs of Hallel and some of the different themes of Hallel. And I hope that you will join me as we progress and as we study and prepare for Pesach. I hope that you will also join me in the pre-Pesach classes that we are offering as at the IPM, and I look forward to sharing this joyous season with you. I'll see you next time.